Thought this would be a pretty routine day in the House of Representatives. A Speaker of the House would be elected. The swearing-in ceremony would happen with the new members of Congress. It has been anything but, though. 3 votes that did not go House former Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's way. So we're joined by Joaquin Castro live from Washington, D.C. Of course, he represents the 20th Congressional District here in San Antonio. Representative, thank you for joining us. How would you describe what happened today?
On the one hand, historic, but also very chaotic and in many ways sad. The first day of the House of Representatives is usually a lot of pomp and circumstances. It's people having their family over, their friends for celebrations, people being sworn in, obviously, first-time members of Congress. And so this situation has not happened in 100 years where a speaker has not been elected on the first day. And we've been through 3 votes now where Kevin McCarthy has failed to get a majority to become speaker. And I'm not quite sure at this point who Republicans, if they're going to abandon him as their candidate, the majority, the lion's share of them, or they're going to go to somebody else at this point.
Truly, this has not happened in 100 years, since 1923. That's the last time that the election of a House Speaker went to multiple ballots. So talk about what can happen from here. The House adjourned today, will be convening again tomorrow. But what are the next steps for the newly sworn in Congress while we wait for this election? Or are there any steps that can be taken?
Well, the interesting thing is that this is the first item of business that the House of Representatives has to undertake. And so we can't do anything else. We can't vote on any bills. We can't make committee assignments, anything until a speaker is elected to preside over the House of Representatives. So it leaves the body, the legislative body, in a kind of limbo. And that's what makes it so chaotic, is that you're basically in limbo until a speaker is elected.
So let's talk about, what happens when eventually a speaker is elected. I mean, you're in a much different position than you were, just a month ago. I mean, instead of the majority, you are now in the minority. What are some of the things that you want to see done by this Congress? And are you optimistic that bipartisanship, which has been a dirty word for so long, can be accomplished?
I'm hopeful, Steve. I served 5 terms in the Texas state legislature, and I'm now in my 6th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I've been able to work across the aisle with folks on many different bills and pieces of legislation. But the Congress itself has been very gridlocked. Divided government gives you a chance for both sides to come together and try to find compromise on the big issues that are affecting San Antonians and affecting all Americans, whether it's rising inflation, rising home prices, the immigration issue and border security, the cost of health care, a lot of things. But, part of the challenge that we have right now is that the Republican Party is really at war with itself. And it's moved to the right since Donald Trump became president and afterward, in this Trump era, I would say. But even then, you've got this very intense fight going on among Republicans about the direction of their party. And so, I don't know at this point who would be on their side of the table if we're negotiating on these big issues. It literally is impossible to say at this point.
A lot of people would say, well, of course, you as a Democratic politician, not unusual to hear criticism of the Republican Party, but you have served in several different Congresses. This is a unique situation that we're seeing with this obviously very divisive election of a House Speaker. So do you think that chaos that you've described, does that give you any indication about what progress you think might be made once Congress does get up and running?
Well, I can say this. It depends where Republicans go from here. If they end up with a speaker who's even further to the right than Kevin McCarthy, who's already moved very far to the right, but if they get a Matt Gaetz, a Marjorie Taylor Greene, Andy Biggs, one of these folks who really came along during the Trump era and are scorched earth politicians, then it's going to be very tough, I think, to find common ground with those folks. I mean, I think at that point, even Republicans won't even be able to find common ground among themselves. So it really just depends where they go, you know. And I spent 10 years in the Texas legislature where you had this long-held spirit of bipartisanship, and there were even members of the minority party, whether it was Republicans or Democrats at the time, who were able to be chairs of committees. You know, that kind of bipartisanship in Washington, unfortunately, has been unthinkable. I mean, it's just a very different tradition. It's kind of a winner-take-all. It's a free-for-all fighting tradition that's very different than what I experienced in Texas.
I want to talk immigration, border security. You know, we can even talk Title 42 if you want. But I mean, it is a very part of the reason that that Kevin McCarthy's having trouble being elected House Speaker is because they have such a slim majority. You know, he basically needs all but 6 Republicans to vote with him, is my understanding. And he's not getting that. Democrats are holding firm and voting for Hakeem Jeffries in this whole thing. Does that help give Democrats maybe a little more power than they normally would have to deal with things like border security? Are there Republicans that will work with Democrats on something like border security, immigration, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we passed as Democrats within the last month, we passed about $2 billion. My son's peeking into the shot here. We passed about $2 billion in funds to help process folks as Title 42 was coming to the end and to buffer border security. You know, and so we have tried to take action as cities like Del Rio and McAllen and El Paso and San Antonio have asked the federal government for help in dealing with the folks who are seeking asylum. And so we're going to continue trying to work in a productive way among ourselves, but also hopefully with the Republican Party in the House and in the Senate.
You know, while the selection of a House Speaker is very much in limbo, so is the future of Title 42. That's something we keep talking about. So if and when that does come to an end, are there any resources or that aid you mentioned, things that you want to see some of these border towns, border cities get in order to help them with what's expected to be an incredible influx of people coming across the border?
Yeah. First, I want to make sure that all of our border towns are well taken care of in terms of having the resources they need to get people on their way. So it's not just a city government like San Antonio. As you all know, San Antonio set up a migrant resource center that really has become a model for other cities that are dealing with this situation. But also for a lot of the support organizations like Catholic Charities, for example, that has helped countless migrants who are seeking asylum in the United States, get them on their way to a lot of them are meeting up with family members in other cities, whether it's on the West Coast or the East Coast. So even as they're moving through Del Rio or San Antonio, the lion's share of them are not staying there. They're moving somewhere else. But there's a process in getting them to where they're going. So I absolutely believe that we got to do everything we can to help our Texas cities get the funds they need to do that.
All right, Congressman, before I let you go, if your son's still there, give him some camera time right now. Let him come on camera. And I want to ask you what you expect to happen tomorrow. Well,
my wife got him back into the bedroom over there.
Okay, all right.
But look, I mean, for the sake of the country, I hope that the Congress, that the House will elect a speaker and that we can start governing and working on legislation for the good of the American people and for the good of San Antonio.
All right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Congressman Joaquin Castro, thank you so much for sharing some time with us.
Give our best to your family that came up to watch you get sworn in again. I'm sure that they were like, what's going to happen now, Dad? Yeah.
I will. Take care, y'all.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
We'll be right back.
Former President Donald Trump might be back on Facebook soon. Facebook's parent company, Meta, says it is considering allowing the former president back on its platforms. The announcement expected in the next few weeks. Trump was banned from Meta's platforms, which include Facebook and Instagram, after the attack on the Capitol in January 2021.
When the ban was first handed down, it was indefinite, then later revised to 2 years. Those 2 years are up Saturday, January 7th. This Saturday, a representative for Meta says An official announcement won't happen just yet. Trump was also banned from Twitter, but his account was reinstated in November after Elon Musk took over.
Look outside with live cam. Everybody getting back to reality after the holidays. And it's been so pleasant out there. Nice and warm. Helps us ease into it, I guess, Adam.
Yeah, it's not Burr January.
Nope.
And we know things can change pretty quickly around here, but no big changes in sight for any temperature drops, at least not in the foreseeable future. Right now we're at 72 degrees, still mild outside, but by midnight we're down to 55. And tomorrow morning, 6-7 a.m., 46 degrees. So clearly a quick and efficient temperature drop out there tonight. Long sleeves or sweatshirts in the morning, but you won't need them by tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk about the temperature spread and the next shot at rain for us in just a bit.
All right, Adam mentioned things could change on a dime, which is what we're always waiting for this time of year.
It's definitely South Texas, Adam.
And we do have a cold front in the forecast, just not a real hard-hitting one. Just one that's going to modify things a little bit and hopefully trigger a few showers and storms. That's what we're expecting from it. Until then, some comfortable temperatures, meaning cool mornings, nice afternoons, 40s to 70s. And then the weak cold front hits this weekend, right in the middle of the weekend. Rain chances then Saturday night into about the first half of Sunday. And you look at it right now, we've got it up to 40%. Yeah, that 20% on Saturday, that's basically developing by the afternoon. And then Saturday night, through the first half of Sunday, it's up to 40%, so scattered category. And of course, there's a lot of time between now and then, so we will be fine-tuning the forecast and letting you know all the updates. So you have to check back in as we get closer to the event, and then we can start talking accumulations and more details on the timing. But you look at the pattern right now, and the severe thunderstorms, that's Louisiana eastward. And you see those boxes in the lower right-hand side of your screen, the yellow and the red polygons. Those indicate where we have this severe weather right now, the watch boxes that are out there. And of course, on the north end of this broad system, we've got the snow. Far up north, we're talking from Nebraska through Minnesota all the way into Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan. This is a big wound-up system. It's pushing eastward, moving out of here. It's actually going to be replaced by another strong system to hit the west coast with just a big plume of moisture and even some high winds. Now, part of that system peels off and then a little bit of extra energy comes our way, and that should be enough to develop a new cold front by this upcoming weekend, and then that cold front being a fairly weak one, generating a few showers and storms for us. And I don't like to get too specific with the future cast this far out, just the mere fact that it's painting a picture that shows the development of some scattered showers and storms, because the ingredients should be there, so we would anticipate something to develop. So it's nice to see the future cast agreeing with that and showing the likelihood of some scattered areas of rain. Will it be a big drought denter? Probably not, but we'll take whatever we can get, and we need every last drop that we can squeeze out of the clouds right now. This morning, 61, so a mild start considering the average low is 41, and then we made it up near 80. The high temperature, 79 degrees. Right now we're at 72, dew point of 36. That dry air back in place, lack of any mugginess outside. That's the northwesterly wind at 8 miles per hour, pushing in that drier air. But it's not as dry as what we had around Christmas with our big cold snap when those dew points dropped below zero. That was exceptionally low for us here in south central Texas. Rock Springs down to 57 now. 67 though Uvalde. Carrizo Springs at 64. 67 in Gonzales, officially at SAT Airport. International Airport, 72 degrees, but we're ranging from the upper 60s to mid 70s around Bexar County. Tomorrow morning, you look at our temperatures, we're in the 40s, so you'll feel that chill in the air to start the day. Have the sweatshirt or the long sleeves ready for the kids in the morning. 44 Castroville, 46 Seguin, 46 Canyon Lake. But by the afternoon, even noon, we're up near 70 degrees with sunshine, then a high temperature of 75. That's at 4 p.m. A west-northwesterly wind at 10 to 15. So you'll notice the wind a little bit throughout the day tomorrow. Nothing drastic, just a few gusts up to 20 miles per hour. But short sleeves fine all across the board tomorrow. Divine, 77. Bandera, Pipe Creek, about 75. And the same goes for Gonzales. And then 78, Nixon, Smiley area. No big temperature changes until this weekend. There will be a drop with that cold front. By Sunday, we're down to 64 for the high temperature, which is actually average for this time of year. And notice the only chance of rain here is Saturday night into very early Sunday. And briefly, we're going to be humid, and that's just on Saturday. You'll notice that mugginess return for a day. I got to share a few more photos with you of our beautiful sunset this evening. Nice mid and high clouds overhead. Beautiful evening for a long walk. And Woodlawn Lake Park, always a good vantage point.
Those are some good shots.
Skywatcher coming through again.
Skywatcher.
Yeah.
In case you missed it, coming up next. Here's today's In Case You Missed It.
It is truly a back-to-work Tuesday, January 3rd.
4 months after Michelle Barrientos Vela was convicted of tampering with records, her defense team set out today to convince a judge that she's a good person who does not deserve to spend a decade in prison.
Barrientos Vela's former boss, her co-workers, and even her sister-in-law all described her as caring today, only to then have the prosecution come in and get those same witnesses to concede that some of her actions, like falsifying government records, weren't so good. The defense in this case moved through these character witnesses at a rapid pace. The defense could rest as soon as tomorrow morning. Barrientos Vela faces between 2 years probation and 10 years in prison. Because she's indicated that she will appeal her felony convictions, she will be allowed to remain free even if she's given a harsh sentence. Judge Velia Mesa is expected to issue that sentence, whether it's probation or prison, tomorrow after the defense's last character witness and closing arguments from both sides.
A southeast side home also on fire this morning, and firefighters are trying to figure out what caused all this. It happened on Tipperary Avenue near Pecan Valley and Goliad Road. We're told the flames damaged the entire upstairs. One firefighter dislocated a finger during this firefight. He was helped at the scene and no one else was hurt.
We'd like to share some great fireworks video from around the city. David Pequeño shared a different view of the fireworks during New Year's celebrations. A drone with Avid Season Productions captured fireworks near the Tower of the Americas, as well as neighborhoods behind the Alamo Dome.
News around America, an apology and a credit towards a future flight. Not enough for one Southwest Airlines passenger after the airline's massive Christmas meltdown. Eric Capdeville is suing the carrier, saying the airline violated federal law. He says instead of providing prompt refunds for canceled flights, customers were offered credit. A federal judge in Louisiana has been asked to certify the lawsuit as class action to include other passengers. No comment yet from Southwest. The U.S. Transportation Department is investigating the airline's operational meltdown that forced tens of thousands of flights to be canceled during some of the busiest travel days of the entire year.
Many of us either caught up in it or know several folks
Absolutely.
caught up in it.
Yep.
Yeah, tomorrow morning, cool, mid-40s, 46 at the bus stop. By the noon hour, though, already sunny and 68. And then by 4 p.m., we make it up to 75. You know, it's that time of year where we often see the big difference from a cool morning to a comfortable afternoon, and the rest of this work week, no exception. This weekend, some changes with rain chances Saturday night.
All right, thanks, Adam. And thank you for watching the News at 6.
See you tonight on the Night Beat at 10.